Imagine a world where an entire community is overlooked, then suddenly they become an essential part of society. This is the story of the deaf community during the World Wars. Before the outbreak of the global conflicts, the deaf community was often sidelined. Their abilities were underestimated, their talents underutilized. They faced a stark wall of societal exclusion, an unyielding barrier that seemed insurmountable. Opportunities were sparse, and the perception of their abilities was marred by misconceptions and prejudice. The world was a challenging place for deaf individuals, a landscape marked by isolation and missed opportunities. But as the tides of time turned, so did the fortunes of the deaf community. As the world was plunged into the chaos of war, an unexpected shift was on the horizon. As the dark clouds of war gathered, an unexpected silver lining emerged for the deaf community. As World War I and II erupted, the demand for labor skyrocketed, and the deaf community found themselves in an unprecedented situation. The world was at war, and there was a massive labor shortage back home. The situation was ripe for change, and the deaf community, often overlooked, stepped up to fill the gap. While deaf people were barred from serving in the U.S. military, they found themselves thrust into the heart of the war effort on the home front. They took up jobs in manufacturing, working around the clock to produce the materials needed for the war. From tanks to planes, bullets to boots, the deaf community played an integral role in the war effort, demonstrating their capabilities and shattering the misconceptions about their abilities. One such example is the flourishing of the new deaf community around the Goodyear plant in Akron, Ohio. Here, deaf men and women worked tirelessly, their hands crafting the very tools that would help the Allies win the war. Their dedication and hard work did not go unnoticed. They were no longer seen as disabled, but as capable workers, contributing significantly to the war effort. Across the nation, from California to New York, Washington, D.C. to Ohio, deaf men and women were hired in record numbers to work in defense industries. They relocated, leaving their homes to serve their country in the best way they could. They were seen, perhaps for the first time, not as people with a disability, but as valuable contributors to society. The war years were a time of change, not just on the global stage, but also at home. They were a time when societal norms were challenged, when barriers were broken down, and when the deaf community proved their worth. They were no longer sidelined, but recognized for their abilities and their contribution to the war effort. The deaf community had proven themselves to be a valuable part of the war effort, but their impact didn't end there. Across the Atlantic, in Europe, the deaf community was making a difference on the battlefield. The war effort in Europe saw a unique development. Entire companies of deaf soldiers were formed, defying the conventional notions of what deaf individuals could accomplish. These brave men took up arms, serving their countries with unwavering dedication. In the field, the language barrier was overcome in a unique way. Special signs were developed for commands, signs that could be seen at a distance. This method of communication was not only innovative but also effective, allowing the deaf soldiers to move, engage, and retreat in sync with their hearing counterparts. The deaf soldiers' service in Europe was a testament to their courage and resilience. Their actions challenged the stereotypes and misconceptions about the deaf community. Their bravery and innovation proved that the deaf community was capable of far more than society had previously acknowledged. The impact of the deaf community's contribution to the war effort was profound and lasting. As the world was engulfed in the chaos of war, a silver lining emerged in the form of unprecedented opportunities for deaf men and women. Wartime labor shortages flung open the doors of various industries, leading to a record number of deaf individuals stepping into roles that were previously beyond their reach. From the manufacturing floors of the Goodyear plant in Akron, Ohio, to defense industries in California, New York, and Washington, D.C., deaf workers proved their mettle. They demonstrated that their abilities were not defined by their hearing impairment, but by their resilience, determination, and skill. This shift in perception was more than a wartime necessity. It marked a turning point in how employers viewed deaf workers, challenging stereotypes and paving the way for greater inclusivity and acceptance. The World Wars, for all their devastation, played a critical role in transforming the lives of the deaf community, proving that they were not just capable, but invaluable contributors to society.